Hi, good morning. January 28th. Hopefully everybody had a great start to your week. And we're gonna get rocking and rolling here. So today, um, I had a full agenda and then I had to cut some of it down and move some of it to next week. And the good news is I have lots of content that I want to get to you. Bad news is we're not going to get to it all today, but that's okay. Um, and so today we're going to go through celebrate a handful of folks because we had a lot of people who had very successful Decembers who capped. We'll walk through December results. We're not going to share year to date because in 2 weeks we're pulling groups and locations together to do year-end celebrations and award ceremonies. So if you haven't yet filled out the survey as it relates to peer-to-peer awards, would love for you to do so because it's one of the best parts of that time together. And then I have some organizational updates. Where are we? Where are we headed? Well, who have I been talking to and who have I been hiring and who are different people that you might have been seeing or not seeing? Lots of things have been going on over the last 4 to 6 weeks, so I'll give you some insights there. And then we will finish with market insights. But what I did is I pulled all the accepted offer data because I hadn't pulled that since the fall to help you understand what's winning right now in January, which, by the way, hint, hint, if you weren't aware of this, January is transactionally the slowest month of the year. And yet it doesn't need to be for you, right? So I'll give you a little insights as to what's winning in the market of the moment. Sound good? Sweet. All right. So jumping right into it, mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. And we're here to celebrate a handful of people. We have 21 cappers who capped in the month of December, which is a beautiful time of year to cap. So first up, out of the Prestige office up in Germantown, a great contributor, the productivity coach up there. Big shout out to Michaela Collar for capping in the month of December. Next up, this person on House to Hone, learning from the great Judy H. Kathleen Gill, also just recently transferred from the Prestige office to the North Shore. Kathleen, congrats on capping in the month of December. Next up, absolutely on a rise of a trajectory, doing great things, partnering with someone really cool, and they're doing really cool stuff. And he made a transition in the past year and having great success. Omar, congrats on capping in the month of December. Next up, someone who quietly goes about their business, does it the right way, no matter what life throws at them. Congrats, Spencer Harvey, for capping on the month of December. Next up, someone I enjoy having world conversations with, a well-read, well-traveled individual. Noach, congrats for capping in the month of December. Next up, husband and wife team out of Prestige. Andrew is the broker of the Prestige office, and his wife does a lot of things from a transaction management perspective for various associates. Congrats to both Andrew and Nicole Keel for capping in the month of December. Next up, this guy is, I used to call him the Shorewood King of the Shorewood Duplex, the Duplex King of Shorewood. William Lauer, congrats on capping in the month of December. Next up, out in Lake Country, give a shout out to Tracy Lukic for capping in the month of December. Staying on theme and on brand, out in Lake Country, Robin McCormick, congrats on capping in the month of December. Next up, someone who's pushing the envelope of what's possible within a team, Steph Miller, congrats on capping in the month of December. Also, someone who is given back is our resident maps coach, also having great success within a team. Steph Minnick, congrats on capping in the month of December. Staying on brand and on theme, another individual who's having great success on a team and showing the opportunities of how leverage can support her and her business. Renee Newton, congrats on capping in the month of December. Next, someone who always gives back, willing to teach, coach, can train, and consult. Congrats to Rick Reuven for capping in the month of December. This individual has had a really, quite frankly, a meteoric rise, has done great things, has contributed to the leadership team, was trying to navigate what they wanted to do in life. Shannon Schultz, congrats for capping in the month of December. Next up, someone I go to spiritually, quite frankly, who I have a lot of conversations with, who I lean on often, is a great sounding board for me. Congrats to Kathy Shaw for capping in the month of December. Now, next up, someone who had an absolutely incredible year despite what the market threw at them. And they learned how to leverage the economies of scale within their relationships. Congrats to Lori Sroke for capping in the month of December. learning how to balance both helping her husband run a business, build a business, 4 kids, and having a great presence in everything that she does with great energy. Annie Stabler, congrats on capping in the month of December. As I say with most of my family, the standard is the standard. Congrats to my brother Will for capping in the month of December. And then the last 3 people is the OG, the first agent who moved to KW, the mayor of the North Shore office, Mr. Andy Stillman. Congrats on capping in the month of December. Next up, father-son duo. Father helping his son grow a business, learning through it together, son pushing up on the dad. I see it. I'm in a family dynamics. I totally get it. Congrats to Rob and Nick Wessel for capping in the month of December. And then lastly, a gentleman who just quietly goes about his business is a testament to how you manage a personal and professional business. Also has a full-time job doing something else, but has a really nice real estate career as well. Congrats to Randy Young for capping in the month of December. All right. Jumping over to December awards. Here, we're just going to highlight those that had great success in the month of December because we're going to recap year to date here in about 2 weeks. So, Home Run Club in the month of December. This is 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed. I want to give a shout out to Elena Zeman, Schroeder, Bianca, Christiane, David Lopez, Erica Morrison, Holly Speranza, JOC, Janine J, Jill Fink, Joey Carini, John Molitor, Judy H, Katie Hart, Kristen Stahulik, Leanne, Maggie Retino, Milena, Mercedes, Molly, Nancy, Nick, Janisak, Nick Wessel, Paris, Randy Young, Rick Rubin, Rob Wessel, Say, Sarah Oberbrunner, Shawnee, Stacy G, Stephanie Miller, Tom Martin, and Turner Jock. 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed. This is what you desire to do in terms of what you're trying to achieve and what your activities will deliver for you when you do the results or when the results show up. $1 Million Month Club in the month of September. You can see here a lot of people had a lot of great success in the month of December. Even though the industry transactionally slows down in the month of December, a lot of people having great success with $1 Million months in the months of December. Next up, agents who are on teams with highest GCIs. Shout out to Janine, Steph Miller, Martha Ola, Ginger Lazovic, Steph Minnick, Kathy Shaw, Will Stallé, Casey Lopez, Ellen Pertel, Maggie Drain, Megan Stallé, Melena Cortez, Katie Hart, Kathy Rosenheimer, Molly Triggs, rounding it out for the top 15 for GCI on a team. Now, percentage volume year increase year to date. Big shout out to Carlos, Don Belanja, Craig Harden, David Lopez, Tara Agnew, Amber, Shannon, Julie, Jordan Tybenko, Katie Sayers, Deborah Croft, Benji Cohen, Jess Annabelle, Christy Sands, and Cam Douglas for the highest percentage volume increase in 2024. Now, December individual volume, we have Demara leading the way, finishing it up at 2 mil in the month of December. Julie Bolgren, number 2, Mary Walgreen, Beth Clark, Jill Fink, Judy Moffett, Angela Palmer, William Lauer, Lauren Siegel, John Molitor, Julia Jansky, Kevin Matson, Doreen Drummel, Annie Stabler, Robin McCormick, Jess Annabelle, Elena Zeman, Christine Evers, Kristen Stahulik, and Jean Jaskowski, rounding it out for individual agents volume in the month of December. And then finally, team volume in the month of December, JSG leading the way at 10 mil, FRG at 7.2, House to Home at 5.6, Root River, Duval, Wessel, SRG, On Point, Levine, A-Key Home, Champagne, Desties, MTM Collective, the Sold by Sarah team, Kindred, K-Team Realty Group, the Gossman Group, Lumen's team, Los Niakis, and PPG rounding it out for team volume in the month of December. So stay tuned. We'll be celebrating teams and people here in 2 weeks at a variety of different locations. We're going to do year-to-date or year-end celebrations for 2024 in Market Center specific groups. So be on the lookout for those save the dates as well as the peer-to-peer awards and recognition. Cool. All right. So I have a few announcements to make. I've been busy. Let me preface this to help you understand at a 10,000-foot view where we are, where we're headed, and the moves I've been quietly making in the background. So first, I want to share with you something that I share with our teams constantly, and it's around who our core values are as a leadership team and what we're trying to do and deliver for our associates, okay? And first is we're trying to create energy. create energy, to put wind in your sails, to put gas in your cars, to help you move fast, think differently, and stay engaged in a really difficult profession. And it takes a toll on people personally and professionally. And so how do we show up as leaders in order to create energy which enables our culture? Second is how do we engage talent? So how do we capture your imagination in order to attract and retain great talent? I always challenge our leaders as saying leadership isn't around managing people, it's around challenging them in the way they think. And if we challenge you in the way you think, you will act differently. And how do we get you to continue to want to play the long game as it relates to this business, despite what might show up? Three is we have to, at the end of the day, we all have to own results. And that's qualitative and quantitative. And how do we hold them accountable as it relates to owning their results? And how do we help you remain accountable to yourselves, your families, and who you're doing it for so that you can achieve and continue to desire what you to get out of the partnership with KW, but also that how do we help you own the results you have? And ultimately, what we all do it for is in this business is for profit. And how do we then as a leadership team be good stewards of the dollars that you provide us, and how do we give back from a profit share standpoint? Last year, I think we finished as the 12th largest profit sharing company in the entire Keller Williams organization. And it's important to us, quite frankly, we'll crack the top 10 in 2025. It's important for me to making sure that our associates understand that profit share is cultural. Because when someone stands up to teach Ignite, or someone helps mentor a younger agent, or when someone helps answer a question or reply to a Facebook group or whatever it might be, the piece to it that what agents don't understand is that you're helping someone be more productive today than they were the day before. And when we do that, we all benefit from the level of productivity and professionalism that our offices and locations have. And when you do that well, KW becomes the most compelling choice within the marketplace. And I'll give you perspective on that. Industry standards from a brokerage perspective is about 36% of a brokerage's roster will turn over in a given year. Some people will leave the brokerage for other brokerages. Other people will leave the industry completely. Last year in 2024, we had a 96% retention rate. We had a 4% attrition rate. And so we look at retention and attrition as it relates to, are our leadership teams creating energy, engaging talent, owning results, and is it ultimately delivering profit share back to our associates? And if we do that, the results then show up in the productivity that you have, the goals that you achieve, how we hold you accountable, how do we engage you? And then what that looks like is, I always say, agents vote with their own 2 feet. They're either attracted to you or they're exiting you. It's really simple. It's a really black and white metric that we measure brokerages on, is based on, are you delivering value or are you not? Because agents have choice, right? So for perspective, as it stands today, because sometimes I know we forget to share what the organization looks like and where we serve. You can see here now underneath the MKE umbrella what all it entails and who we're serving and the geographies in which we play in. Most recently in the fall, as we and announced the partnership with Prestige, you can see it allowed us to organically grow and expand our reach into northwest parts of the metro area, a lot of which already bordered market centers in which we operated. And the economies of scale, when we bring things together, can be profound in terms of the value it can provide to associates, and where it is that we head in terms of how we reinvest dollars back into our value proposition, how we reinvest dollars back into leadership, headcount, and all those sorts of things that make an impact on agents' productivity and service levels, quite frankly. Whether it's service levels within an office, whether it's service levels from a compliance standpoint, where it's helping you with risk mitigation, or providing you more tools and resources from a technology and marketing standpoint. The game is about economies of scale, and how do you leverage economies of scale to add more value than your peers? And that's really the name of the game in which we're trying to achieve. So over the last several weeks, I know a lot of people have kind of been like, hey, so what's going on? We've had some change. Where are we going? What are we doing? And very quietly in the background, we've been working on things until we were ready to make an announcement as to what it looked like. And part of that is we restructured the organization. We restructured roles, responsibilities. We provided more clarity for people that were on our leadership teams, because quite frankly, when I jumped into this role roughly almost 8 years ago, I came into the organization with about 150 agents. And the organization as it was structured then is not the organization that it is today. And so I had to think really hard around the last 6 months around who are we, how are we structured, and how are we structured for the future so that we can continue to support you in levels that you expect versus doing it the way we've always done it. And sometimes that comes with difficult decisions as it relates to how are we structured and what does this look like. So today I'm going to make some announcements on some leadership hires of people who have started with us. You might have seen them around, and strategically we kept them quiet for a little while because we had them working on some projects. And those projects entailed understanding where we sat within the marketplace and taking meetings with our peers to understand what it is that they offer and understanding the value proposition versus where we sit within the marketplace. So the reason why we strategically didn't announce some of these hires was we wanted them to be somewhat quiet intentionally and strategically as we looked at what our value proposition is, what does our peer set look like, not only within the brokerage space, but competitive landscape wise, even outside the real estate industry, and how are we structuring our business. So I'm going to make a few announcements today of new hires to help you get to know who's coming in and what you can expect of a variety of different things. First up, the first person I'll announce is I call her Amanda P. Amanda P is an incredible woman who is here in the TOSA office and will be located in the innovation location. She'll be in charge of Director of Growth and Recruitment. For the last 3 years, she worked at Northwestern Mutual in growth and recruitment. And one of the things that I always look for is, yes, I have to pay attention to my peers in terms of what they do and what they offer. And yet at the same time, we aren't trying to be like our peers within the industry. And so the reason, and I know I catch some flack with this sometimes, but the reason why we like hiring external talent is external talent comes with skill sets that isn't in the same mode of operation that like most of our peers take agents who are successful, put them into leadership, and then the leadership operates the leadership as if it were their team. And the problem is that doesn't always fit with how we serve independent contractors because Todd's different than Jessica, and Jessica is different than Mara, and Mara is different than Maggie, right? And so we like external talent to think externally because the challenge in leadership is how do we challenge you to think differently? So Amanda's coming to us. Will be located here in the innovation office, focused on growth and recruitment from an external standpoint, as well as serving our leadership team in the innovation space. Coming to us from Northwestern Mutual for the last 3 years, as I mentioned, and came to me as a recommendation from a peer of mine who ran a very large business and said, the two of you need to meet. You will be great people together and you'll accomplish great things. So, Amanda, welcome to the team. Next up, another announcement, and this should be a rather familiar face or a rather familiar name, is effective yesterday, we hired Maureen Balistreri, who, a little background on Maureen. Maureen had 26 years of experience at MGIC. MGIC is the largest PMI insurer in the country, so has industry knowledge and experience, spent 26 years there. In the last 6 years, worked in Focus Title. So someone I've worked directly with, working specifically within the transaction management space. And Maureen comes with a wealth of knowledge of our systems, tools, backend, everything you might need to know around the MLS command, what it might be, how an agent operates. She's done it. And she's served a variety of our associates in a variety of our locations, working remotely over the last 6 years. And starting on Monday, a new role and a new headcount in the innovation space is Maureen will be the Director of First Impressions in the innovation space full time. One of the things that I've learned over the last several weeks is I recognize that we've had a little bit of a revolving door while we were, you might have Bella in one location and Madeline in another, and then Willis is showing up, and then all of a sudden Kathleen might be here, and every single day, depending on the location that you're in, you weren't sure as to who to expect or what to expect as to who is there and who's to serve you. And part of it was as while we were trying to figure out the people and the players and the puzzle pieces, we were just, it was whack-a-mole. Where do we have the most needs today and where do we place people? And so with these moves was to create stability and consistency within all of our locations. And I'll touch on how this impacts a variety of our locations here shortly. And then lastly, a new hire that we also made that will quite frankly be alleviation of a lot of pressure and stress for me is we hired Dana Metcalf to be the team leader down in the Milwaukee Southwest Market Center. Dana comes from us over the last 5 years being a team leader in a market center of significant size and scale in the Houston, Texas area. And my hypothesis was over the last several weeks was that our organization and our growth and trajectory would attract great talent. And Dana was one that, as I announced that I had an opening, raised her hand and said, look, I've been following your trajectory in Milwaukee for a while, and I want to be a part of your organization. And I'm willing to relocate my 3 kids, 2 in high school and 1 in 8th grade, to Milwaukee for the opportunity that you provide. So on January 10th, she drove a 26-foot straight truck from Houston, Texas, with 3 kids to Milwaukee because her moving company in Texas was afraid of driving up here in the snow. So she said, screw it, I'll do it. And I was like, that's when I knew I was like, we're in good hands.
So many reasons, right?
Yeah. As a former, you might not know this about me. I spent 5 years driving a 52-foot semi-truck trailer. That's a different story for a different day. But so you'll get to know and meet Dana here over the next several weeks. As obviously is Southwest is a part of the greater MKE umbrella, and we're going to be doing some things to help our global macro universe help be introduced to people like Dana, Maureen, and Amanda around getting to know them so that when any of our associates are in any of our locations or anywhere for any closings, that you're comfortable with who the leadership team is on a consistent and stable basis. Does that make sense? More to come on that. A lot of people in moving parts is just you'll see an announcement from me to the global roster here this afternoon. It was important to me that you heard it from me first. So what does that mean and where we're going in terms of our organizational structure? Here's what it looks like as of today. When I started 8 years ago, we had 8 people. We believe in specialists, not generalists. Okay. And so what I mean by that is we believe in people who can own their roles and own their specific aspects of their roles. And so moving forward as it relates to reorging and restructuring the organization, every location will have a team leader, an agent services coordinator, a DOFI, and a compliance head in each of our locations. Now, I still have some work to do, as you can see, but finding talent and identifying talent does not happen overnight. It takes lots of conversations, lots of peeling back the onion. I'm still having conversations. I have one that Aletha set me up for later this week. Like, I am constantly seeking talent because the blessing and the curse is the blessing is we're growing tremendously. The curse is we're growing so tremendously that I can't hire at the same pace that we're growing. And so it just takes time to make sure that we're finding the right people to serve you and what you can continue to expect from our organization. So you can see how the organization has been evolving and changing. With that, I'll also make the comment for our group up in Prestige. This also is inclusive of Prestige as well. So we're going to be hiring within that space. Again, it takes time and understanding where we are and what we're doing and where we're headed. Strategically, who are the players in the market and how are we finding great talent? Look, I really don't care about someone's industry experience, whether they have industry experience or not. It's put them into specialized roles and allow dogs to go hunt. For example, Lindsay doesn't answer your contract questions, but Steph doesn't answer your marketing questions, right? And so it's finding really great talent and then finding out the great talent that's inside them and how do we put them in positions to succeed. Does that make sense? I really, really, truly believe the most powerful organizations have, to an extent, positionless players. What do I mean by that is we give them structures of defined roles and responsibilities, but everyone is there to support each other. And then we will continue to grow by maximizing the talent that each one has because Amber is different than Willis, and Willis is different than Maureen, and Amanda is different than Nikki, and Mandy is different than Dana. And it's finding out what makes each of those people great, and then how do we maximize their greatness for you guys to feel the impact. Does that make sense? My goal of it was to provide you a little bit of clarity on some of the stuff I've been working on over the last 6 to 8 weeks as it relates to talent and structuring the organization. And I wanted to come to you with a 80 to 90% baked plan and not a half-baked plan. And you're like, all right, great. What's next? Or what's the next change or whatever it might be. So I wanted to provide clarity as kind of a state of the union as it relates to the organization, because unlike other organizations that are trying to figure out how they pare headcount down, I'm trying to figure out how to hire more headcount. And hiring more headcount is a much more blessed problem to have than, fortunately, we've never even been in the position, even during COVID, where we've had to lay anybody off, because we continue to push the envelope, serve our people, and provide for those that entrust us with their care. Make sense? Sweet. You'll see a much more more robust announcement as it relates to how it impacts all of our locations here later this afternoon, but I wanted you to hear it from me directly first. So leave it there. And I just wanted to make sure, remind the group as a follow-up of, this is also part of the plan of what we announced 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, with Kimmy coming back in within the chief compliance role. So I'll lay it all out and we'll keep moving. Sound good? Beautiful. All right. With that, as it relates to operations and things that the group needs to be paying attention to, is 1099s will be coming out here shortly. Be on the lookout. Also, all agent expense reports will be distributed on January 31st, which is this week, Friday. Any comments, questions, or concerns as it relates to expense reports or what you might need in order to mitigate what you pay Uncle Sam, let us know, because we're here to help. Sound good? Love it. All right. With that, I'm flipping it over to Lieutenant Steph. Steph, what do these guys need to be paying attention to as it relates to protected buyers and protecting your commission?
Morning. Yes, so we're going to be talking about protected buyers and protecting our commissions. In the event, should one of our listings expire and we do not relist it. So in our market, that's not happening too much these days. But oddly, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 4 instances where we've needed to address this. So we wanted to readdress it here this morning. So first up, the extension of listing provision, which is in our listing contracts. You'll find that on lines 230 to 234, which essentially just extends the terms of our listing contracts for up to 1 year after the expiration date for our protected buyers. So should a protected buyer come back and make an accepted offer after our listing expires, closes on that, we are owed that commission. So next we need to define what a protected buyer is. So next slide, Charlie. So a protected buyer is anybody who delivers an offer during the time that we have it listed, a buyer who viewed the property with the seller, and more often than not, a protected buyer is somebody who has attended an individual showing with their own agent. Who you will not see in the definition of a protected buyer, though, is an open house attendee. And I wanted to make sure that that was pointed out to everybody. If you want to include an open house attendee in that list, in that definition of a protected buyer, we can modify our listing contracts to include those. So then no later than 3 days after the expiration date of our listing, we need to communicate with our seller the list of these protected buyers. So delivering that protected buyer letter, then next slide, Charlie. There's a templated letter in our KW resources tab. So you'll find that in the agent hub from KW Realty, MKE.com. You can also get a version of this letter from any one of the compliance brokers. And you're gonna just fill out the template. You're going to list the protected buyers. If the buyer does not want to use their name, if you don't have their name, if you were not given that from the showing agent, you can always identify them by naming the agent and the day that they showed the property within that letter. You're going to have a compliance broker sign, so either Kimmy, Joan, Andrew, or myself can sign the letter. And then we do need to, proper delivery is to mail that letter. We will handle making sure that it gets into the mail. But then we also want you to deliver a copy via email to your seller. And all of this has to be done within, again, 3 days after your listing expires. And then at the bottom here, I have noted there's a protected buyer folder in that KW resources miscellaneous forms tab. But again, if you're having trouble finding it, we can get a copy to you as well. All right. Then next up, the February contract training. So I wanted to highlight, especially at the end of the meeting here, Charlie's going to be going over offer trends. We're going to be going over the addendum AC, which is that, again, that additional contingencies addendum that was created by the GMAR, which expands upon the inspection contingency, the appraisal contingency, and includes the accelerator clause. So if you find yourself writing in competition, and 9 times out of 10, you probably will, if you need a refresher on that, please come to contract training next week, Monday at 12 p.m. Then we're rounding it out, February 10th, what to expect during the contract to close process. February 17th, appraisal etiquette. And then on February 24th, Sally from Focus Title is going to join us, and she's going to go over a closing statement and a title commitment. And again, you can grab the link from kwrealtymke.com, the training calendar. That's all I have, Charlie.
Sweet. Appreciate it, Steph. All right, Vranek, what do these guys got with the Community Pulse magazine, and how are we dropping them this week?
All right, good morning. So the North Shore office probably already knows what I'm talking about as I started handing these out this morning. But I'm super excited to kind of release these this week. We have the updated Community Pulse magazine for 2024. So if you guys have seen the previous year's magazine, we go through detailed statistics for all municipalities. We did add in Racine County this year, so you'll see all 5 counties with statistics on, price differences between 2024 versus 2023, average days on market, and things like that. So the goal of this magazine is to provide clarity into KW Milwaukee, the communities that you serve, and things to do as well. So we added some new things in here this year. I reached out to you guys for your input on some of the top things to do in each county. So I appreciate that insight into some of your favorite things to do. And so those are all included within this magazine. So I hope you guys check this out in the offices. You'll see these by the end of the week in all offices. So feel free to grab one. Would love for you guys to take one, look through it, provide it to your clients. Maybe you have clients who are moving to Milwaukee and just want to kind of know what to do, what to see, and kind of get some insight into the 5-county Metro Milwaukee area, along with Keller Williams Milwaukee. So it's going to include all of our statistics as well from last year.
Hey, Lynn's
right.
question for you.
Yeah.
Can they provide this digitally as well?
Yes. Yeah. So I can provide the digital link. I'll probably end up adding it to the KW Realty MKE website. So when I do that, I will post on the Facebook groups once I do, so that you can grab that link, and then you can share that digitally with your clients as well. And then just another reminder that we have those updated KW Milwaukee statistics. So if you do need your listing and buyer guides updated with those stats, we are happy to update those for you. So just feel free to reach out to myself, reach out to our marketing team. I know a lot of you have already done that, so I appreciate that you guys are staying on top of that and getting those guides updated so that you can provide that insight to your clients. So that is all submitted through our marketing concierge on our website. So if you don't have a listing or buyer guide, now is a great time to request those, and then we'll personalize those. If you have brand colors, fonts, please provide that information when you are submitting that form. That way it allows us to really fully customize this for you guys. So next slide. So that QR code is just going to take you directly to where you can request those. But again, go to our kwrealtymke.com website, click on the Marketing Concierge tab, and you'll see all of the available marketing materials that we have. And then finally, just want to go through some training for the next few weeks here in February. So this week we are diving into agent sites. So if you haven't set up your agent website through Command, if you have questions on how to personalize it, we're going to be going through that. Again, this is a great opportunity to jump on Zoom and ask questions as we go through that training. All of those are going to be recorded and uploaded to YouTube, but again, it's a great opportunity to ask questions as well. And then next week, I'm going to be going through email designs and commands. So, a lot of you have started to kind of put together your own monthly newsletter. And so I'll be going through ways in which you can set up those emails and design those really nice looking newsletters. And then in February, we've got some busy weeks with awards and family reunion. So we're going to be kind of open office hours, jump on, ask us anything. And then compliance and command. We did have a compliance and command and zip form training yesterday. Those are always uploaded to YouTube. So check those out if you have questions on zip form and uploading docs for compliance review. So that's it.
Sweet. Thanks, Linz. Appreciate it. The Community Pulse magazine is great from the standpoint of people always ask, like, what happened in my community? And it has very community specific data. And it's not KW Milwaukee data, it's the MLS data. So if people want to understand price appreciation within Elm Grove or River Hills or Richfield, you can look that up, and all of it is provided within that magazine. And it's a great resource for you to be the economist of choice for your clients. So education and events, here do we got coming on? We are wrapping up the last handful of Ignite sessions. As a reminder for those in Ignite, here's the truth. Those that show up will see the results. Or as Bill Schembechler said, those that stay will be champions. Continue to show up to Ignite, continue to do the activities. We have the Gossmans, Ethan, Janine, Michaela, the Jean Grecos, and Ashley Meyer rounding out an incredible Ignite series here over the next 2 weeks. All right, January training calendar has been out. Pay attention to it. Blood drive is happening tomorrow in the Southwest office from 9 to 2 p.m. with the Versity and Blood Center of Wisconsin. So if you'd like to register for the blood drive, feel free to participate down there. And then here's the first draft of the February training calendar. Is a reminder, family reunion will be happening the week of the 17th. So there will be no team meeting on the 18th, and we will be hosting watch parties from a variety of topics that will be streamed from family reunion in Las Vegas. Also on Wednesday, February 5th, Magnolia Tax Services, as we're starting to think about our tax prep in season, will be at the North Shore office at 12:30 for a lunch and learn. And lastly, from a perspective, family reunion, feel free to join us. I believe there's about 40 plus people that will be participating in family reunion in Vegas this year. I think it's one of the best experiences in terms of industry events. I've been to Inman, I've been to the NAR, I've been to, I mean, it's, you name it, I've been to it. And I think family reunion is one of the best because it provides you an a la carte experience to understand how to take advantage of your peers, building your network. Lastly, save the date for those that are interested in building a team or want to join a team. We're having another opportunity knocks from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Center of the Universe, which is the Zufari Conference Center, right off of 94, 43, 45 corridor on March 10th from 3 to 5 p.m. Sound good? All right, I'm going to wrap it up with a little bit of economics and market data to give you perspective as to what's going on in the market. 2 weeks ago, I gave you my 2025 economic and housing update, okay? I pulled it from a variety of different presentations to give you intel and insight as to what's happening. That presentation is available to you on the KW Realty MKE website for those that need or want any of the slides that were shown within that data. What I provided you was my outlook in terms of 2025, in terms of the macro trends, economic indicators, demand, sales and inventory price trends, and multifamily insights, okay? And then what I gave you was my prediction. My prediction, closed units will be up mid-single digits. I think anywhere from 5 to 7%, which is up over last year, which last year was up 4.5%. Closed market volume, I think will be up 7% or more. Rates, I do expect a downshift, and we're already starting to hear some of the commentary that since the administration has changed around the pressure on rates and what they will do to pull levers to create opportunities for rates to go down. I think housing as an asset will continue to be valued within the southeastern Wisconsin local region. And then the regional population, I talked a little bit around the economic activity of the attraction that the M7 and MMAC have been doing to grow our region and to get to the mayor's vision of making the metro area a 1 million+ person metro area. So if you want to go into the 50+ slides that I shared, those are available to you on the website. Now, I wanted to share with you a little bit more around the micro environment of what's going on to give you market perspective on a weekly basis, okay? What you see here is the weekly data going back to August of 2024. Okay. And what you can see really is this should be no surprise to anybody, but during the holidays is when we hit the lull of our entire residential real estate transactional market. And this has been going on for years. January, historically, from a transactional standpoint, has always been the slowest month of the year. Part of it is based on new inventories rebounding. And so I look at this on a weekly basis to say, are we following the cyclical trends? The good news is early part of January for the first 3 weeks, we've seen the bounce back in new inventory units coming onto the market. So what you see here in the red graphs is new inventory units on a weekly basis over the last 3 weeks. Don't pay too much attention as it relates to, it looks like it's down 43% because it's comparing the most recent 12 weeks versus the prior 12 weeks, which makes sense. Okay. Now, here's what you look at on a units going under contract. Last week, there were 318 units. The week prior was 308. The week prior to that was 251. Okay. And so what I did is I overlaid the new unit inventory and units going under contract to say, we like to see trends going up at this time of year, not remaining stagnant. Going up is a positive sign, and you can see how the impact of when new listings come up, units going under contract goes up. And again, you're looking to make sure, or I'm looking at this time of year to make sure that the industry is following seasonal historical trends. And the good news is we are, okay? And yet what that also does, though, is it has put some pressure, continuous pressure on total inventory. Last week, there were 3,500 homes for sale in the southeastern Wisconsin metro area. That puts pressure as it relates to buyers and how buyers create strategies in order to win successful deals. So what I did was I wanted to give you perspective as to what's winning in the market, and I brought back the what's winning accepted offer insights to take a look. And what I did is last year I pulled the data around let's just call it 800 accepted offers that we looked at in April and May, kind of the peak of the spring market, and what was winning in those offers during the spring market of last year. Then I looked at it in comparative and gave it a few months and looked at it July. And interestingly enough, July got more competitive. We talked about this because June got a little soft, and then all of a sudden July we saw a bounce back. And over the 300 accepted offers that we reviewed in the month of July, you can see the competitive pressures it put on. Now, here's what we have so far for January. Now, mind you, we're still working on pulling more January data for you, and we're going to continue this for a period of time to give you the appropriate insights so we can see when the industry starts to pop, because there will be specific metrics within here that we will be a signaling factor that demand is now getting more competitive. So in the month of January, we looked at 82 accepted offers, okay? Interestingly to note, pay attention, both listing agents and buyer's agents, the list price to accepted offer ratio was 98.9%. Not overly surprising because when you compare it versus the heat of the spring market or heat of the summer market, it was, basically playing within the field, but not overly competitive. And I would expect that from the slowest transactional month of the year. Earnest money pretty much stayed relatively no matter what time of year. It's right around 1.5% to 2%. In January, it was 1.6% with an average of $5,700 was earnest money. Inspection contingency, 60% of accepted offers in the month of January that we reviewed so far have inspections, 40% don't. You can see the comparative trends against last spring. 44% had it yes, and 56% said no. So it basically is flipped a little bit right now in terms of 60-40 in the month of January. Cash offers remained relatively, basically the rule of thumb is 30% of all offers are cash, 70% are financed. That doesn't change whether it's the heat of the spring market or the dulls of the January market. The average down payment of finance deals in the month of January was 19%. Now, here's an interesting thing. Percentage of deals with appraisal gaps was only 7%, and the average appraisal gap offered was 9%. So buyers have taken back a bit more of that control in the month of January. So these are the trends I'll be paying attention to, comparing them versus last spring to give you guys the insights so that we can really identify and get ahead of when the market starts to pop versus you waiting on lagging metrics and all of a sudden you're 3 weeks behind where it is and you're trying to figure out why you're either misadvising your sellers or you're misadvising your buyers because you aren't winning deals, and to try and keep you guys informed during the heat of the market. Sound good? Love it. Everything else I have planned for you today, I have for you next week. Stay tuned. My challenge to you will be to challenge your mindset and perspective around what's possible in 2025, and I'll share that with you next week. It's a beautiful day in Milwaukee, guys. The world is run by those who show up. Thanks for showing up.
That was-